Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really profound puzzle from a 4th century philosopher, all about the nature of God. I mean, think about it. How can a single being be all good and all just and all wise and all powerful all at the same time, without those things totally clashing? It's a huge question.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll lay out the puzzle itself. Then, we'll see how the theologian Gregory of Nyssa kind of cleared the board of old ideas. After that, we'll get into his definitions, see his big solution, and finally, we'll zoom out and explore what it all really means.
Okay, so let's dive right into this big question, one that thinkers have been wrestling with forever. How can God have all these core traits, goodness, justice, wisdom, power, and have them all exist together without just imploding? I mean, just think about it for a second. You've got infinite goodness over here, which sounds a lot like total mercy and forgiveness, right? But then you have absolute justice over there, which is all about order and consequences. How can you have both at the exact same time without one canceling out the other? And yeah, it's not just a simple choice between two things. You got to throw infinite power and perfect wisdom into the mix too. It's like a four-way theological tightrope walk. And this is the exact puzzle that Gregory of Nyssa, a bishop from what's now Turkey, set out to solve. He wanted to build one single coherent vision out of all these ideas that seem to be pulling in different directions. But, before you can build something new, you've got to clear the land first. And that's exactly what Gregory did. He had to take on the big religious ideas of his day to make room for his own, deeper way of thinking about God.
So, in his view, humanity had kind of outgrown some of the older ways of doing things. He looked at the pagan worship of these, moody, emotional gods and said, that's not it. That's not a rational, single divine being. And he also saw things like animal sacrifice as, an earlier phase of understanding. For him, it was time to level up to a more philosophical approach.
And what's so cool is, right here, you can see a piece of his actual writing. This is where he's making his case, explaining why humanity has moved on from these older rituals. He's arguing for something deeper, something that isn't just about going through the motions. It's really fascinating to see how he lays it all out.
Okay, so if you're going to solve a puzzle, you have to know what the pieces are, right? That's Gregory's whole point here. He says we absolutely have to get super clear on what we mean by each of these attributes before we can even begin to see how they connect. So let's start with goodness. And for Gregory, this isn't just about being nice. Not at all. It's the ultimate goal, the whole point of the plan. It's this fundamental desire for everything in creation to be okay, to flourish.
Then there's justice, and this is really key. Gregory flips the script on this one. For him, justice isn't about punishment. It's about keeping the universe in balance, upholding the order of things. It's about getting humanity back to its intended, perfect state.
Okay, up next, wisdom. Think of wisdom as the master architect of the whole operation. It's the divine brain that designs the perfect, flawless plan to reach that goal of goodness, thinking through every single possibility.
And that brings us to power. If wisdom is the architect, power is the construction crew. It's the engine that actually builds the thing, that makes the whole plan happen. Without power, wisdom's perfect blueprint is just, a piece of paper.
So here's the kicker. Gregory says you just can't pull these things apart. It's impossible. Think about it. Goodness without wisdom, that's just chaos. Power without goodness, that's straight up tyranny. They have to work together. They're a package deal.
All right, and this is where it all comes together, the grand synthesis. We've got our puzzle pieces defined, and now Gregory is going to show us how they click into place to create this perfect, coherent picture.
But that big question is still hanging there, right? If they're all inseparable, how do they not just pull the whole thing apart? Who's in charge? How do you get mercy without wrecking the system of justice?
Gregory's solution is, it's just so elegant. It's a hierarchy. He says wisdom is at the top. Wisdom is the guide, the great organizer that points everything in the right direction. Goodness sets the destination, the goal. And then justice and power, they're the ones who execute the plan, working together perfectly.
And this is amazing. We can see his logic right here in his own words. He's basically saying that wisdom has to be connected to goodness to even count as wisdom. I mean, what's the point of a super wise plan if the result isn't good? For him, you can't have one without the other.
So instead of a big, messy contradiction, Gregory gives us this picture of perfect harmony. It's not a shouting match between different attributes. No, it's more like a symphony. And who's the conductor? Divine wisdom, making sure every part works together beautifully.
Okay, so we've seen the solution. It's elegant, it's coherent, but what does it all mean? What's the big takeaway from all this for how we see the world?
This chart really sums it all up nicely, doesn't it? We started with a problem, these attributes that look like they were in conflict, like goodness versus justice. And we ended with Gregory's solution, a clear, organized hierarchy. Wisdom guides goodness, and justice and power make it happen.
And that's why this matters so much. What we're left with is a vision of the universe that isn't random or chaotic. It's not run by competing impulses. Instead, it's governed by this perfect rational design, where goodness, justice, and power are all steered by one ultimate wisdom.
And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about, doesn't it? If this beautiful, harmonious synthesis is the divine model, what does that say about us? How can we try to balance wisdom, goodness, and justice in our own lives?